All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's been making waves in the advertising world, behavioral targeting. We're going to explore how it actually works and where it all began, and most importantly, what it means for all of us who spend a good chunk of our lives online.
Well, what I find really interesting about behavioral targeting is that it often flies under the radar. I mean, many people are completely unaware that their online activities are being tracked and, analyzed.
It's almost like a secret shopper, but for the internet, right?
Uh,
Instead of someone following you around with a notepad, it's an algorithm sort of crunching all that data.
exactly. And it's happening at lightning speed.
So before we go any further, can we define behavioral targeting in simple terms? What is it, really?
Absolutely. Behavioral targeting, or BT for short, uses information about your online behavior to show you ads that are, well, more likely to be relevant to you.
So instead of seeing random ads for things I'm not interested in, I'm more likely to see ads for like things I might actually want or need. Is that the basic idea?
That's the idea. It's about making online advertising less of a shotgun blast and more like a carefully aimed arrow.
Got it. So it's about being more precise, more targeted.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes sense from a business perspective, right? They
Mm.
want to make sure their ads are actually reaching the right people.
Hmm.
But where did this idea come from? Did behavioral targeting just sort of appear one day, or did it evolve over time?
It's definitely more of an evolution. You can trace its roots back to like the mid 1990s. The internet was still kind of in its early stages back then.
Ah, so dial-up modems and clunky websites weren't exactly the ideal environment for tracking user behavior.
Not really, but as internet technology improved, and online advertising started to boom, behavioral targeting began to gain some real traction.
I see. So as the technology advanced, the possibilities for targeting also expanded.
Exactly. And companies like Engage Technologies, Revenue Science, and Takoda, they became kind of pioneers in the field.
So they were developing new algorithms, new ways to collect data, and all of that.
Right. And at the same time, you also had the rise of keyword targeting, like what Google does with AdWords.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Using people's search terms to show them relevant ads. That's been around for a while, right?
It has, and you can see how both approaches leverage user behavior, in different ways to try and deliver more effective advertising.
It's like different paths converging towards the same goal.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a bit of historical context now. Let's dive a little deeper into how behavioral targeting actually works. What kind of information are these algorithms gathering about our online behavior? I mean, are we talking about everything we do online?
It's a pretty wide range, actually. We're talking about the websites you visit, the links you click, the search queries you enter, the products you view online.
So it's pretty much everything then. Kind of unsettling when you think about it.
Yeah. Even things like, how much time you spend on a page, whether you scroll up or down, all of that can be tracked and analyzed.
Wow. Okay, so we've got these algorithms gathering all this information about our online behavior,
Hmm.
but what's the next step? How do they use all that data to actually create those targeted ads?
That's where the magic of algorithms, I guess, comes in. They analyze all that data to identify patterns and make predictions about your interests.
So let's say I spend a lot of time on websites about, I don't know, travel.
Then the algorithms might infer that you're a travel enthusiast. And, well, they might start showing you ads for airlines, hotels, things like that.
So the more I browse, the more these algorithms learn about me and the more targeted the ads become.
Precisely. And some people argue that, in a way, this can actually improve the online experience.
Oh, how so?
Well, if you're seeing ads that are more relevant to you, maybe online advertising becomes less intrusive, less annoying.
Hmm, I guess there's a logic to that. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, I think it would be helpful to kind of break down the different types of behavioral targeting. Are we talking about one single approach here, or are there different strategies?
There are actually three main types of behavioral targeting that we can talk about. You have affinity-based targeting, retargeting, and predictive behavioral targeting.
Okay, three distinct approaches. Let's unpack those one by one, starting with affinity-based targeting. What's that all about?
Well, with affinity-based targeting, the focus is on connecting ads with, your existing interests and your browsing habits.
So if I'm spending a lot of time reading about travel, I'm more likely to see travel-related ads. It's kind of like striking while the iron is hot, right?
You got it. And within affinity-based targeting, you have two subcategories. There's situational targeting and there's long-term targeting.
Okay, so break those down for me. What's the difference?
Well, situational targeting is more focused on your immediate needs and desires. For example, if you're researching a new laptop, you might start seeing ads for laptops from different retailers, even when you're on websites that have nothing to do with computers.
So it's like they know I'm on the verge of making a purchase, and they're trying to nudge me in a certain direction.
Right. But then long-term affinity-based targeting, well, that takes a broader view. It's about understanding your enduring interests, things you're consistently interested in.
Got it. So if I'm a big foodie, I might see ads for cooking classes or gourmet ingredients, even if I haven't been actively searching for those things recently. Is that it?
Exactly.
That's pretty impressive. Okay, so that's affinity-based targeting. What about retargeting? I think we've all experienced that one. You know those you left something behind emails you get after abandoning an online shopping cart?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
classic example of retargeting. It's designed to bring back those almost customers.
So if I add a pair of shoes to my cart, but don't buy them, I'll start seeing ads for those same shoes later on, maybe even with a discount.
Exactly.
I'll admit, it's worked on me before.
It plays on our, well, our sense of unfinished business and that fear of missing out, right?
It's clever, for sure. Okay, so we've covered affinity-based targeting and retargeting. Now, what about that third type you mentioned? Predictive behavioral targeting. That one sounds particularly interesting and maybe a little bit scary.
Predictive behavioral targeting, it tries to anticipate your future needs and desires.
So if I suddenly start reading about gardening, even though I've never shown any interest in it before, these algorithms might start showing me ads for gardening tools.
Exactly. They're trying to predict what you'll be interested in next.
It's like they're reading my mind, trying to stay one step ahead.
That's both impressive and a bit unsettling, I have to say.
It's a very powerful technology, that's for sure.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We defined behavioral targeting, looked at its history, broke down the different types. But I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
There's definitely a lot more to explore. We still need to dig into the benefits and drawbacks, the ethical implications, and what the future might hold for this technology. Well, that sounds like a great roadmap for the rest of our deep dive.
Welcome back. Let's continue our exploration of behavioral targeting.
You know, after that last segment, I'm like both impressed by how sophisticated BT is, but also kind of wary, right? I mean, all that information those algorithms are gathering about us, that's a lot to consider.
Yeah, for sure. It's a powerful technology, and like any powerful technology, there are both potential benefits and drawbacks.
Oh,
Let's start by looking at some real-world examples of, how behavioral targeting is being used. It'll give us a more concrete understanding of both its utility and its potential impact.
yeah, that sounds good. Do you have any specific case studies in mind that we can look at?
I do. One compelling example comes from a study that was done by Nug.ad.
Mm.
They're a German behavioral targeting company. They partnered with FDM Travel. It's a Danish travel agency,
Hmm.
and they wanted to test the effectiveness of behavioral targeting in promoting FDM Travel's vacation packages and city tours to a broader audience. So they decided to run a targeted campaign on extrabladet.dk. It's a popular Danish news site.
Okay, so instead of showing just like generic travel ads to everyone who visited the site, they used behavioral data to target specific users who were more likely to be interested in travel.
Exactly. They used Nug.ads technology to identify users who'd previously shown an interest in travel-related content based on, their browsing history, their search queries, and this allowed them to show very targeted ads to a smaller, more receptive audience.
Got it. So they were being more strategic with their ad spending,
Exactly.
focusing on the people who were already in the market for travel. What were the results? Did this targeted approach did it actually work?
Well, the results were actually quite impressive. Compared to a control group that saw those generic ads, the group that was exposed to the behaviorally targeted ads, well, they showed significantly higher click-through rates.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, if I'm seeing ads that are actually relevant to me, I'm more likely to click on them. But did they track anything beyond just click-through rates? Did they see do people actually book more trips?
That's the ultimate question, right? And in this particular study, they didn't track actual bookings, but higher click-through rates are generally a good indicator of increased user engagement and ultimately conversions.
Okay, so that's one example of BT being used to to increase the effectiveness of an advertising campaign. Do you have any other case studies that we can look at that show maybe different aspects of behavioral targeting?
I do. Let's shift gears and look at a case study from Wonderloop. It's another behavioral targeting company, and this one focuses on retargeting. You remember how it works?
Yeah, retargeting. It's about trying to bring back those almost customers, right? The ones
Yeah.
who browsed a website or added items to their cart but didn't actually complete the purchase.
Exactly. So in this case study, Wonderloop partnered with, again, FDM Travel, and the goal here was to reach users who'd previously shown interest in specific travel destinations on FDM Travel's own website. So let's say, you were browsing for flights to Paris, but you got distracted, closed the tab without booking. Retargeting would then show you ads for those same flights. Maybe even offer a discount to try to sweeten the deal.
So it's not just about like reminding you that you were interested in something, but it's also about giving you that extra little nudge to go back and actually actually complete the purchase.
Exactly. And the results of this study were pretty interesting. While the click-through rates for the retargeted ads, they were only slightly higher than the control group, the real difference was in the conversions. The users who saw those retargeted ads, they were significantly more likely to actually book a trip.
So even though fewer people clicked on the ads, the people who did click were more likely to actually become, paying customers.
Yes.
That's really valuable for businesses.
It is. It highlights the importance of not just focusing on click-through rates, but also considering the overall impact on conversions and sales. Retargeting, when done effectively, can be a really powerful tool for re-engaging those potential customers and kind of guiding them towards a purchase.
Okay, so we've seen examples of BT being used effectively to increase click-through rates conversions.
Yeah.
But as we discussed earlier, there is a potential downside to this technology, especially when it comes to data privacy.
Right. And that's where our third case study comes in. This one raises some important questions about the transparency of data collection practices and the potential for abuse when it comes to BT.
Okay, this sounds like it's going to get a little unsettling. Tell me more.
So this case study involved research that was done by Catherine Dwyer. She's a professor at Pace University, and she examined the use of tracking tags and cookies on the Levi's website. She wanted
Okay.
to see how much data was being collected and shared with third parties.
She was basically trying to like lift the curtain and see what was happening behind the scenes when it came to data collection on this, popular e-commerce site.
Exactly. And what she found was is pretty revealing. The Levi's website was loading multiple tracking tags. These included things like web beacons, which are those tiny invisible images that are embedded in web pages. They can track user behavior, and this data was then being shared with multiple advertising entities, none of which were actually acknowledged in Levi's privacy policy.
So Levi's was collecting and sharing data about its users' browsing behavior without being upfront about it.
That's one way to interpret it, and this really raises concerns about the lack of transparency in many BT practices. Users often have no idea how much data is being collected about them or how it's being used.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. It feels like a violation of trust when companies collect and share our data without our knowledge or consent. But is there anything that we can do about it? Are there any regulations in place to protect our privacy in the age of BT?
There are, but the landscape is constantly evolving, and regulators are really struggling to keep pace with the rapid advancements in technology. One of the most significant developments in recent years has been the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. It went into effect in Europe in 2018, and the GDPR, it strengthens individuals' rights over their personal data, and it requires companies to obtain explicit consent from users before collecting and processing their data for things like behavioral targeting.
So no more sneaky tracking tags or hidden cookies.
Yeah.
Companies actually have to like be upfront about, about what data they're collecting and how they're using it.
In theory, yes, but enforcing these regulations is another challenge. And then there's also the issue of user awareness. Many people just don't understand the complexities of online tracking and how to how to protect their privacy.
It's like trying to read a legal document in a foreign language, right?
Yeah.
You know it's important, but you have no idea what it actually says.
That's a great analogy, and that's where the industry needs to step up and do a better job of educating users and empowering them to make to make informed choices. There are also some technological solutions on the horizon that could help tip the balance in favor of user privacy. One that's been gaining some traction is the concept of do not track. It would allow users to signal to websites that they don't want to be they don't want to be tracked for behavioral targeting purposes.
It's like a digital do not disturb sign, right, for your web browser. I like that.
Exactly. However, the implementation of do not track has been met with some resistance from parts of the advertising industry. There are concerns that it could stifle innovation and limit the effectiveness of online advertising.
So it's kind of like a tug of war, right, between the privacy advocates and the advertising industry. Each side trying to pull the rope in their favor.
That's a fair assessment. The debate is ongoing and it's likely to continue for some time. But one thing's clear: the future of behavioral targeting is going to be shaped by this ongoing tension between between the desire for personalization and the need for privacy.
It's a fascinating and complex issue. No easy answers there. But knowing what we know now, how can we as users navigate this landscape and make informed choices about our data and our privacy?
That's a great question, and it's one that we'll explore in more detail in the next part of our deep dive. We'll look at some practical steps you can take to protect your privacy online, and we'll also look at some emerging trends that could shape the future of behavioral targeting in the years to come.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface, but we're already at the final part of our exploration of behavioral targeting.
Yeah, it's a vast and complex topic, that's for sure. But I think we've laid a good foundation, for understanding how it works, the different ways it's being used, and the potential benefits and drawbacks.
Absolutely. And now I'm curious to kind of look ahead a bit, and try to envision like what the future holds for this rapidly evolving field. What do you see happening?
Well, the future of behavioral targeting is really intertwined with a lot of key trends that are shaping the digital landscape as a whole.
Right.
As we've discussed, one of the most significant ones is the continued growth of online advertising, especially with mobile devices, online video, social media platforms, all vying for our attention. With this growth, it's pretty safe to say that the use of BT is only going to become more widespread.
Yeah, it seems almost inevitable, right? I mean, those algorithms are just going to be working overtime, analyzing our every digital move, figuring out how to best capture our attention and ultimately our wallets.
That's one way to put it. Yeah. But alongside this growth, we're also witnessing a kind of counter movement, a push for greater privacy regulations, greater user control.
So it's not just a one-way street then. There's pushback happening as well.
Right. As awareness of data privacy issues grows, we're likely to see stricter rules governing how companies can collect and use personal data for BT purposes.
So the Wild West days of data collection might be coming to an end.
It's possible.
Okay, so regulations and user control, those are key factors shaping the future of BT. What other trends should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, one interesting development is the growing emphasis on transparency and trust. As we've discussed, lack of transparency has been a major criticism of BT. Companies have often been, very secretive about their data collection practices, and that leads to mistrust and skepticism among users.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're saying, trust us, we know what's best for you, but they won't tell us what they're actually doing with our data. It's like, come on.
Right, but that approach is becoming increasingly unsustainable.
Yeah, I would think so. People are getting more savvy about this stuff.
They are. As users become more knowledgeable about data privacy, they're demanding more transparency from the companies they interact with online.
Makes sense.
And companies are going to have to be, more upfront about what data they're collecting, how they're using it, if they want to maintain that trust.
Okay, so transparency is key. What else? Anything else on the horizon that could change the game for behavioral targeting?
Well, there's this concept of explainable AI. It's been gaining traction, and it could be really important for the future of BT.
Explainable AI. Okay, break that down for me. What exactly is that, and how could it impact, how could it impact behavioral targeting?
Well, explainable AI, it refers to the development of artificial intelligence systems that can actually explain their decisions, in a way that's understandable to us humans.
So no more mystery algorithms making decisions behind the scenes.
That's the idea.
I mean, we'll actually be able to see how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Right.
That's a reassuring thought, I have to say.
It could be a real game changer for BT because it would allow companies to demonstrate how they're using data responsibly and give users more insight into how decisions are being made about them.
It's like lifting the veil of secrecy, right? Bringing things out into the open.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered growth, regulations, transparency, explainable AI. Anything else we should add to our future of BT crystal ball here?
One final trend to consider is the move towards more integrated campaigns. Traditionally, BT has been used, primarily for online display advertising, but as the lines between different marketing channels continue to blur, we're likely to see BT being integrated with other forms of marketing.
So instead of just seeing like targeted ads online, I might also get like personalized emails or see, targeted offers in my social media feeds. Maybe even get customized recommendations from like, in-store sales associates. It's like the marketing matrix is closing in.
It's certainly a possibility. It's all about creating a cohesive and personalized experience that kind of follows the user across their entire journey, both online and offline.
Well, it sounds like the future of behavioral targeting is still very much, up in the air, but it's clear that it's a powerful force that's going to continue to shape the digital landscape in the years to come. I think as we wrap up this deep dive, the question on everyone's mind is BT ultimately, a force for good or evil, or is it something in between? What's your take on that?
It's definitely not a black and white issue. BT has the potential to enhance our online experiences by delivering more relevant content and services, but it also carries some significant risks, to our privacy, our autonomy. Ultimately, the impact of BT is going to depend on how we as a society choose to navigate these complexities.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. It's neither inherently good nor evil, right? It's a tool, and like any tool, its impact depends on the intentions of those who wield it and the choices that we make as individuals.
And as with any tool, it requires careful consideration, critical thinking, a healthy dose of skepticism. We need to, stay informed, engage in open dialogue about the implications of these technologies and advocate for a future where technology serves us, not the other way around.
Well said. Well, I hope this deep dive has given you, our listeners, a better understanding of the forces that are shaping the digital world and the power dynamics at play. As we venture further into the age of data-driven personalization, it's more important than ever to be informed, to be engaged, and to advocate for a future where technology enhances our lives while respecting our values and our right to privacy. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into behavioral targeting.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.